Today on I'll Tell You, Isabel Allende's esoteric novel, The House of the Spirits. This is the story of Clara, the clairvoyant. She possesses the special sensitivity of telekinesis. She is able to move furniture with her, verplarifieren, just be her mind, has the gift of divination, and communicates with spirits that haunt her. Civil House. At the age of 10, she keeps a diary she calls a notebook for recording life. She inherits a chest containing what she believes to be magical books belonging to her traveling uncle. The chest is accompanied by a Pavis, mangy, starving puppy named Barabbas, whom she affectionately calls the Adorable. All Zubart's Jetchen monster. Clara belongs to a progressive-minded family in Chile in the early decades of the 20th century. Severo and Nevia del Valle are her parents. He has political leanings and she is a feminist. Among all her siblings, Clara prefers her older sister, Rosa la Bella, who stands out among those around her for her attributes and people skills. Her young sister was engaged to Esteban Trueba, a young man from a family with an important but failing family name. During those years, he was seeking better fortune by starting a business in the cabaret points. At a gathering at the family home, Clara's father was the victim of an assassination attempt, a plan concocted by political opponents who tried to poison him with a brandy. Unfortunately for everyone, Rosa la Bella took the pen poison. That day, the family tragedy began. For the next few years, Clara didn't want to say a word. She was haunted by the idea that she had predicted her sister's death, and she was powerless to prevent it. No matter how many doctors, priests, and witch doctors she was taken to, none could break her will to remain silent. In those 9 years of silence, Clara grew into a young woman and developed her telepathic and clairvoyant abilities. She saw her future with Rosa la Bella's fiancé, Esteban Trueba. After the tragedy of Rosa's poisoning with a brandy, Esteban decides to stop seeking his fortune in the mine and instead return to the dilapidated family estate of Las Tres Marias. With an iron fist, he forces his tenants to put things in order, threatening to throw them out of their house or hire a teen out of their house or outright kill them. He was devastated by Rosa's death, but that didn't stop him from developing a voracious sexual appetite, abusing and fathering children he didn't recognize with the women who lived on his land and going to the town brothel to get drunk. Esteban's soul becomes corrupted, and he becomes more intrepid, more shitty every day. At the urging of his pessimistic sister, Farilla, he returns to the city to attend the death of his decrepit mother, who, on her deathbed, makes Esteban promise to marry a good woman. At 19, Clara spoke, again. At that time, Esteban was returning to the city to ask for her hand in death, marriage, and thus fulfill the promise he made to her mother. He had made a fortune at the hacienda, and she thus fulfilled her prediction of joining her late sister's fiancé. But the wedding was marked by another bloody event. Barabbas, the friendly monster, was stabbed in the back during the engagement party and died in Clara's arms, staining her dress with blood. Our protagonist, Heavies, interprets this as a sign of the calamity and suffering that their marriage, Mother-bring Vacha marriage be mother. After the wedding ceremony, the couple moves into the house on the corner, a huge mansion in the most European style possible, which will be enlarged over the years to house the court of spiritualists and Hinan, magicians who follow Clara, and the spirits themselves who always seek her, Kimin's presence. Clara invites Esteban's sister, Farilla, to move in with them. Our protagonist then organizes weekly seances where they communicate with spirits. These sessions are attended by eccentric characters like the Mora sisters, sisters. Shortly after, Clara becomes pregnant. When She is very close to giving birth. Her parents die in a car accident, in which her mother, is decapitated. Clara asks Esteban's sister, Farula, to help her search for the head. They find it just as Clara goes into labor. Our protagonist gives birth to their first child, Blanca. Farula and Esteban compete for Clara's affection and attention, until one day Esteban discovers Farula sleeping with Clara in the same bed. This unleashes his anger, banishing Farula, who, in a fit of rage, places a curse on her brother. The entire family moves to the Las Tres Marias estate one summer, and Clara tries to rally the peasant women with her feminist principles. Esteban, for his part, meets with local landowners to plan the victory of the Conservative Party in the upcoming elections, and thus begins his murky political career, which involves vote buying, bribing peasants, and all kinds of threats. Blanca grows up on the hacienda and becomes close friends with Pedro Tercero Garcia, son of hacienda foreman. The friendship blossoms, and as teenagers, they fall in love, beginning a secret romance because their parents wouldn't approve of the union due to class differences. One day, Esteban learns that Pedro Tercero is spreading socialist ideas among the hacienda workers and expels him, threatening to kill him if he returns. Blanca is sent to boarding school, but soon after she feigns illness to return to the hacienda and secretly see Pedro Tercero. Around the same time, a young French count, an opportunist, visits the family hacienda, interested in Esteban's fortune. He is seduced by the possibility of arranging a marriage of convenience to marry Blanca off. This fuels Blanca and Pedro's passion, and they make love for the first time on a moonlit night in a meadow by the river. That night, Clara's granddaughter, Alba, is conceived. Meanwhile, Clara and Esteban's relationship worsens. She is abused by her husband's shouting and abusive behavior. Clara becomes pregnant again and decides to move to the city, to the house on the corner. There, she gives birth to twins Jamie and Nicholas. Upon learning the names of her children, Esteban flies into a rage because none of them bear his name. At the Las Tres Marias estate, Blanca and Pedro Tercero's affair is discovered by the Frenchman, who tells Esteban. Enraged, he chases Pedro Tercero, nearly killing him with a machete. Pedro manages to escape but loses 3 fingers. Blanca also incurs her father's wrath when it is discovered that she is pregnant, and she is forced to marry the Frenchman, whom she does not love. Clara is also beaten by Esteban for defending her daughter, and from that moment on, our protagonist will never speak to him again, nor will she share a bed with her husband. The years of Clara's life pass, and Chilean society changes, social unrest grows, and leftist movements become increasingly influential. Our protagonist's life unfolds between raising the twins, her spiritualist court, and her relationship with the paranormal. For example, she learns of the death of her sister-in-law Farula when she appears to her in spirit one day. The twins are now young. Jaime has become a doctor, and Nicholas has tried his hand at business ventures that have always failed. Her granddaughter Alba has grown up happily among the court of so many strangers. Her mother quickly abandoned the little count for being a deranged man. So Alba ran around the house on the corner among her uncles, her magical grandmother, and her court of spiritualists, and she charmed everyone. She even got along well with the grumpy old man her grandfather Esteban had become, who loves her more than his own children. Clara died when Alba reached the age of 7, but her spirit never left the house. She is buried with the head of her mother, Nevea, who had died years earlier in a car accident. Alba reaches adolescence and dedicates herself to studying philosophy and music. In Chile, the labor movements are increasingly organized. This is the era of unionism and the rise of socialism. The girl participates in political meetings at her college and meets Miguel, a young man from the far left who is convinced of armed revolution. They begin a passionate relationship. At the opposite extreme, Esteban Trueba has served for the past few years as a senator for the Conservative Party. In 1970, the socialist candidate assumes the presidency, and Senator Trueba is the first to organize a conspiracy to destabilize the new government and plunge it into crisis. However, the president does not resign, and after 3 years of deep economic crisis, he is overthrown in the military coup that establishes almost 2 decades of dictatorship in Chile. During the socialist government, Blanca began to visit Pedro III again, who lived in the capital, became a famous protest singer, and later became a minister in the socialist government. On the day of the coup, Jaime, Clara's son, who worked as a doctor in the slums of Santiago, was arrested, tortured, and shot for being among the president's friends. Esteban Trueba disbelieved the news and continued to defend the military. Meanwhile, Alba helped politically persecuted refugees seek asylum in foreign embassies. This ultimately led to her arrest and detention. In a clandestine center, a group of military officers tortured and raped her for weeks. Among them was Esteban Garcia, the illegitimate grandson of Esteban Trueba's rape of a peasant woman who sought revenge on his illegitimate father. Alba was saved through contact with a prostitute whom Esteban Trueba had helped in his youth and was able to return to his grandfather. He deeply regretted having helped the military seize power. He finds himself alone. Blanca has gone into exile with Pedro III in Canada. Clara is dead. Her son Jamie too. And he feels his family is broken. Before dying at the age of 90, Esteban Trueba suggests that Alba write the history of her family based on the diaries Clara has kept for over 50 years. Alba does so, and thus we learn who she is who has narrated this story. And that was the summary of The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Have you already read the book or seen the movie? Let me know in the comments. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe and like the video. And if you want to support me, you can buy my book, The Spectacle of Life. The details in the description. Hugs, and until next time.